My dear child, there are moments in life when something deep inside you suddenly stops you. Not by accident, not by coincidence, but by a love so careful and so precise that it knows exactly when to reach you and exactly what you need to hear. This is one of those moments. Before you take your next step, before you send that message, before you return to that person or that place, before you say yes to something that has been weighing on your spirit, just stop. Be still. Breathe slowly. Because what you are about to do carries far more weight than your eyes can currently see. And if you rush past this moment, you may walk right through a door that was never meant to open for you. This message did not find you by accident. There is a reason these words reached you at this specific point in your life. Out of all the moments in your day, all the distractions pulling at your attention, all the things competing for your time and focus, something brought you here. Something quieted the noise just long enough for this moment to land. That is not random. That is intentional. You are being asked to slow down. Not because something is wrong with you. Not because you are being punished. Not because life is trying to hold you back. But because something deeply precious is in front of you, and moving too fast could cost you more than you are prepared to pay. You have been carrying a heavy load for a long time now. Not just the kind of tiredness that sleep fixes. This is a deeper kind of exhaustion. The kind that lives in your chest and sits quietly in your shoulders. The kind that comes from showing up for everyone around you, while silently wondering if anyone is truly showing up for you. You have been answering people when your heart was running on empty. You have been making decisions while still healing from things you never fully processed. You have been pushing forward with a smile on your face while something deep inside you is quietly asking for permission to rest. And through all of that, through every single moment of quiet struggle, through every night when the weight felt too heavy to carry and yet you carried it anyway, through every prayer whispered in the dark, through every time you chose to keep going, when everything in you wanted to stop, none of it went unseen. Every tear, every silent sacrifice, every morning you chose to try again, even when yesterday nearly broke you. All of it has been watched with extraordinary care and held with a love that does not forget and does not overlook. That is precisely why this pause has been placed in your path right now. Not to frustrate you, not to steal your momentum, not to delay your blessings or make your life harder, but to protect you from stepping into something that looks like a solution, but is actually a cycle. Something that feels like relief, but carries hidden weight. Something that seems familiar and therefore feels safe, but familiar is not always the same as right. There is a very important difference between what is available to you and what is actually meant for you. Not everything that shows up in your life is a gift. Some things show up as a test. Some things show up to reveal what is still unhealed inside you. Some things show up because old patterns have a way of recycling themselves in new packaging, hoping you will not notice until you are already in too deep. And because you deserve more than that. Because you have already paid too high a price for lessons that did not have to cost you so much. This moment is asking you to slow down before your emotions make a decision that your spirit has not yet agreed with. You have felt this warning before. Maybe not today, maybe not in these exact circumstances, but you know this feeling. That quiet hesitation before moving forward. That subtle tightening in your chest when something does not sit right. That small voice somewhere deep inside that whispers wait, even when every other part of you is screaming go. You have felt it, and sometimes you honored it and later understood why. And sometimes you pushed past it because the opportunity looked good, because the timing felt right, because you were tired of waiting, because you convinced yourself you were overthinking. And later, looking back, you remembered that you already knew. There is a kind of wisdom that lives in your spirit that is quieter than your thoughts, but often more accurate. It does not always come with full explanations. It does not always give you a detailed list of reasons. Sometimes it simply gives you a feeling, a steadiness or an unsteadiness, a settling or a resistance, a peace or a disturbance. And the invitation right now is to stop dismissing that inner voice as confusion or anxiety or overthinking, and to start recognizing it as one of the most honest guides you have access to. Because here is the truth about this moment. What you are facing right now is not just a decision. It is not just another conversation or another opportunity or another ordinary day. There is spiritual weight attached to what is in front of you. The choice may look small from the outside. It may look like something that hardly warrants this much attention. But the people around you cannot see what you are carrying inside. They cannot see the history behind your hesitation. They cannot see the healing that is still in progress beneath the surface. They cannot see what this particular moment touches, what it might reopen, what it might protect, or what it might cost. But you are seen fully, and because you are seen fully, the pause being placed before you right now is not empty. It is full of wisdom, full of care, full of the kind of love that steps in before regret, has to teach what discernment was quietly trying to offer. So do not treat this moment carelessly. Do not rush past it because it feels inconvenient. Do not let the pressure of urgency convince you that stillness is weakness. The pause itself is the gift. Beloved child, every video on this channel is created with love, faith, and dedication to sharing God's Word. If these messages inspire and encourage you, you can support our mission through PayPal, links in the description and pinned comment. Thank you for being part of this journey. Dear child, you do not need to solve everything in the next 5 minutes. You do not need to respond to every demand immediately. You do not need to force clarity out of confusion. You do not need to make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotional storm. The truth that is right for your life will still be true after you have taken the time to breathe, to pray, to let your spirit catch up with your emotions. What is genuinely meant for you will not collapse, because you took the time to listen before you leaped. So stay here with these words a little longer. Let your thoughts slow down. Let the urgency in your chest loosen its grip, just for now. Let yourself exist in this moment without needing to immediately fix or decide or respond or move, because the strength you need for what is ahead does not come from speed. It comes from rootedness. It comes from alignment. It comes from the kind of clarity that only appears when you are brave enough to be still in a world that never stops demanding movement. You have not been brought through everything you have already survived, just to stumble at this moment. Too much has been invested in your story. Too many nights of prayer, too many seasons of growth, too many hard lessons that cost you something real, for all of it to be undone by one rush decision made in the middle of an emotional storm. There is something worth protecting in you. Something being built, something being healed, something being prepared. And that something deserves the care of your full attention before your next move. Now, once you have found that stillness, once the noise begins to settle, there is something specific that needs your attention. There is a voice that has been shaping more of your decisions than you have realized. It is not always loud. In fact, it is often surprisingly quiet, surprisingly logical, surprisingly reasonable sounding. But underneath its calm exterior lies something that has been quietly working against your peace for a long time. That voice is fear. Not always the trembling, obvious kind. Not always the kind that announces itself with a racing heart and visible panic. Sometimes fear is much more subtle and much more persuasive than that. Sometimes it sounds like preparation. Sometimes it sounds like caution. Sometimes it sounds like wisdom. Sometimes it puts on the clothes of responsibility and speaks in the measured tones of a trusted advisor. But when you trace its words back to their root, you find the same message every time. The message that says you are not safe unless you are in control. You will not be okay unless you act now. If you wait, you will lose. If you trust too fully, you will be disappointed. Fear has been leaning into the tender places inside you. It has been studying where you feel most vulnerable and speaking directly into those spots. When you are lonely, it whispers that you should hold on tightly to whatever connection is available, even if it costs your peace. When you are tired of waiting, it whispers that the next thing that appears must be your answer, even if something inside you is not settled about it. When you feel uncertain about the future, it whispers that you need to secure outcomes now, before they slip away, even if securing them means silencing your own conscience to do it. This is how fear operates in the quieter seasons. It does not always try to freeze you. Sometimes it tries to rush you. Sometimes it pushes you into movement so fast that you never pause long enough to hear anything else. It turns your longing into urgency. It turns your wounds into weapons that it uses against your own discernment. And because fear is so familiar, because it has lived inside your nervous system for so long, you sometimes mistake it for truth. You treat it like a trusted guide rather than recognizing it as the thief it actually is. Fear will always tell you to choose from scarcity. It will always try to convince you that what you have right now is the best you are going to get. It will whisper that this is your only chance, that if this relationship ends, you will be alone forever, that if you do not take this opportunity, immediately the door will close and never reopen, that if you let go of what you are holding, nothing else will come to fill its place. And beneath all of those whispers is a single devastating assumption. The assumption that the love and provision surrounding your life will somehow fail you if you loosen your grip. That is the deepest lie fear tells. That your future depends entirely on the speed and control of your own actions. That if you slow down and trust something greater than your own management of outcomes, everything will fall apart. But your future is not held together by your anxiety. Your peace is not found in control. Your blessings are not preserved by panic. You are not your own sole protector, sole provider, and sole rescuer. And learning to actually live from that truth, not just believe it in theory, but walk in it under pressure. That is one of the most transformative things that can happen to a human heart. So the next time fear begins its familiar whispering, try something different. Instead of immediately arguing with it or trying to logic your way out of it, first simply recognize it, name it plainly and honestly. Say to yourself, this is fear speaking. Not wisdom, not warning, not truth. Fear. That one act of honest recognition matters far more than most people understand. Because you cannot address what you have not first named. Then bring it into the open without cleaning it up first. Do not wait until you feel spiritually presentable before you come. Do not spiritualize the feeling before you have sat with the reality of it. Come exactly as you are and say plainly, I am afraid. I am afraid I will miss this. I am afraid that if I wait, everything will fall apart. I am afraid that I am going to end up alone. I am afraid that what I am hoping for is never going to come. Bring the exact script that fear has been whispering. Lay it all out in the open. Because when you bring it into the light, its power over you begins to dissolve. And once it is in the light, truth can begin to speak. The truth that what is genuinely meant for you does not require panic to preserve it. The truth that a delayed answer is not abandonment. The truth that missing what was never truly meant for your life is not loss. It is protection. The truth that your story is not one fragile thread away from unraveling every time uncertainty appears on the horizon. The truth that you are being cared for by a love that does not sleep, does not forget, and does not make careless decisions about your life. If you want to take a moment and share this message with someone who also needs to hear it today, please do. There are people in your life right now who are standing at the same kind of crossroads, feeling the same pressure, hearing the same fears. You sharing this might be the very pause they needed. And if this message has been speaking to something real inside you, consider joining this community and subscribing to this channel so that these words can keep finding you in the moments you need them most. There are more conversations like this one coming, and you will not want to miss them. Now, alongside the voice of fear, there is another guide that has been trying to get your attention. One that is far more trustworthy, but is often harder to follow, because it is quieter. It does not compete for your attention the way fear does. It does not shout or pressure or create urgency. It simply persists. A gentle but steady disturbance, a soft but consistent resistance, a peace that quietly refuses to show up no matter how hard you try to manufacture it around a particular decision or person or path. This is your inner warning system, and it is one of the most profound forms of protection available to you. You have felt it before. That sense of unease that you could not quite explain. That hesitation that arrived before your logical mind had fully caught up. That something is not right feeling that appeared even when everything on the surface looked perfectly fine. You may have told yourself it was nerves. You may have called it overthinking. You may have pushed past it because the opportunity was attractive or the timing felt convenient. But somewhere in the quiet of later reflection, you understood that the warning had been real. This inner signal does not always come with a full explanation attached. That is one of the things that makes it difficult to honor. It does not always hand you a list of reasons. It does not always give you evidence you can present to other people to justify your hesitation. Sometimes it simply refuses to let you settle. Sometimes it keeps returning after the initial emotional excitement fades. Sometimes it stays consistent through prayer, through rest, through the cooling down of your first reaction. And that consistency, that steady refusal to disappear, even after you have tried everything to explain it away, is itself one of the clearest signs that it deserves your attention. Think right now about the thing in front of you, the conversation you keep replaying, the decision you have been going back and forth on, the door that keeps appearing in your mind. Sit with it honestly for a moment. Not the idealized version of it, not the best possible outcome you have been painting in your imagination, the real version of it. And notice what happens inside you when you do. Does your spirit soften or does it brace? Does your breathing deepen or does your chest tighten? Does the thought of moving forward bring a quiet steadiness, or does it stir something restless that you keep trying to call excitement, because excitement sounds better than unease? Pay attention to those subtle responses. They are not noise. They are not confusion. They are some of the most honest data you have access to about whether something is right for you in this season. My child, we are committed to spreading hope, faith, and the message of Jesus Christ to people around the world. If you would like to help us continue this work, please visit PayPal links below. Your kindness means more than words can express, beloved child, because here is something that takes a while to understand, but changes everything when you do. What you might be calling confusion in this moment may actually not be confusion at all. It may be conflict. The conflict between what your emotions want and what your spirit already knows. Those are two very different things, and learning to tell them apart is one of the most important skills you can develop as a person who wants to live with genuine peace and authentic wisdom. Confusion spins in circles and offers no resolution no matter how long you think about it. Conflict, the kind between desire and inner truth, has a quieter quality. It returns to the same answer every time you get still enough to hear it. And if you keep overriding that inner answer, if you keep silencing the warning in order to pursue what looks good or feels comfortable or offers the quickest relief, you will slowly train yourself to distrust one of the most reliable guides you have. You will get better and better at ignoring what your spirit is trying to tell you, and the cost of that gets more significant over time. But if you honor it, if you slow down and let it lead you back into stillness instead of forcing yourself forward, you will begin to discover how consistently and how accurately it has been protecting you. Not always from obviously bad things, sometimes from things that are simply not right for you in this particular chapter of your life. Because that is an important nuance. Not every warning is about something evil. Not every check in your spirit is pointing to something dangerous in the obvious sense. Some things are simply misaligned with who you are right now, where you are in your healing, and what you are being prepared for. Some doors are not wrong in themselves, they are just not yours in this season. And because of the specific tenderness of where you are right now, because of what you have been through, and what is still being healed, and what is still being built in you, walking through certain doors that others might walk through without consequence would cost you something significant. That is why comparison is so dangerous in this space. Stop measuring your hesitation against what others are willing to do. Stop assuming that because someone else moved through a particular situation without visible damage, you should be able to do the same. Your life is being handled with specific and personal attention. The guidance being given to you is tailored to the details of your story, your history, your vulnerabilities, the places where you are most susceptible to being pulled off course, and the extraordinary potential of what you are being shaped toward. So when something keeps disturbing your spirit, when the unease refuses to leave even after you have prayed and rested and waited, when the peace simply will not settle around a particular decision no matter how many times you try to convince yourself it should, do not rush to label yourself as fearful or difficult or indecisive or overly sensitive. Instead, ask a different question. Ask what is being protected in you right now. Sometimes what is being protected is your peace. Sometimes it is your healing. Sometimes it is your identity. Sometimes it is your energy. Sometimes it is the tenderness of a part of you that is still in the process of becoming whole, and which would be significantly set back by stepping into the wrong thing at the wrong time. You are allowed to say not yet. You are allowed to say I need more time. You are allowed to say something does not feel right even if I cannot fully explain it. You are allowed to protect what is being built in you even if it disappoints someone, even if it costs you a comfort, even if it means you do not get the quick resolution you were hoping for. The pain of honoring a warning is almost always lighter than the pain of ignoring one and learning the lesson the hard way. Now, alongside all of this, alongside the voice of fear and the voice of inner warning, there is a third pressure you need to learn to recognize, and it may be one of the most common forces that pulls people away from wisdom on a daily basis. That pressure is urgency. The feeling that something must be decided right now. That if you do not move immediately, the moment will slip away. That time is running out. The door is closing, the window is shrinking, and any delay on your part will result in permanent loss. Urgency is convincing because it lives in your body. It is not just a thought. It is a physical sensation. Your thoughts speed up, your chest tightens, your breathing becomes shallower. Your mind starts rapidly building arguments for why you need to act now, and rapidly cataloging all the worst case scenarios of what happens if you do not. Within moments, a decision that should be made with calm and clarity begins to feel like a crisis that demands an immediate response. And this is exactly where so many of life's most regrettable choices are made. Not in moments of calm reflection, but in the middle of emotional heat that has been manufactured either by circumstances, by other people, or by the part of you that is still running old patterns of panic-driven decision-making. The enemy of your peace is an expert at creating emotional emergencies around moments that, with a little time and stillness, would resolve themselves or reveal themselves to be far less dramatic than they initially appeared. He loves to make ordinary choices feel catastrophic. He loves to make temporary discomfort feel like permanent danger. He loves to make you believe that if you do not respond to a message right now, the relationship will end forever. That if you do not take this opportunity this instant, you will never have another chance. That if you do not say yes today, you will spend years regretting the moment you hesitated. These are manufactured emergencies, and their job is to get you moving before you have had time to get still. Not everything urgent is important, and not everything important is urgent. Write that somewhere you will see it. Carry it with you. Let it become one of the filters through which you evaluate the pressure you feel. Because when you stop treating urgency as proof of importance, you reclaim enormous power over your own decision-making. You stop being at the mercy of whatever feeling is loudest in the moment, and you start building a life that is shaped by truth rather than by emotional weather. Some of the most important choices you will ever make will not feel urgent at all. They will feel quiet and simple and steady. And some of the most loudly urgent things you have ever felt will, with a little distance, reveal themselves to have been entirely manageable. Time has a way of shrinking false emergencies back down to their actual size. And if you can create even a small amount of artificial distance between yourself and the pressure, just a few hours, just one night, just enough space to breathe and pray and let the initial wave settle, you will often find that what felt life or death at 5 p.m. looks entirely different by the following morning. So practice this. When something begins to feel urgent, instead of immediately obeying that urgency, pause and ask yourself a simple but searching question. Is this truly urgent? Or does it only feel urgent? Is there a real deadline here? Or is the deadline being created by fear, or by someone else's impatience, or by my own anxiety? Will something actually be permanently lost if I take 24 hours to think about this? Or does it just feel that way right now? Ask those questions. Let them work on the urgency, because genuine need will still be genuine after you have paused. But manufactured pressure often begins to collapse the moment you stop feeding it with your panic. And here is something worth understanding about why urgency so often lands so powerfully. It almost never attaches itself to things that mean nothing to you. It wraps itself around the things that carry emotional weight, around your deepest longings, around your greatest fears, around the places where old wounds have not fully healed, around the things you most want to be true, around the relationships and outcomes you have invested the most hope in. That is why it is so convincing, because it is speaking directly into the places where you are most alive and most vulnerable at the same time. If the situation involves your longing to be loved and chosen, urgency will whisper that you need to respond now before they lose interest. If the situation involves your fear of being left behind, urgency will whisper that everyone else is moving forward, and you are already running late. If the situation involves your exhaustion and your craving for relief, urgency will whisper that you do not have the strength to wait any longer, and the quickest option is the most merciful one. If the situation involves a door that seems to be closing, urgency will whisper that doors like this do not come around twice, and hesitation is indistinguishable from foolishness. My child, this ministry exists to bring encouragement, prayer, and God's truth to every heart that needs it. You can stand with us through PayPal links in the description and pin comment. May God bless you abundantly for your love and support. Beloved child, do you see how personal it is? Urgency knows your history. It knows your wounds. It knows what you want most. And it uses that knowledge to make you feel like you are about to lose something you cannot afford to lose. This is why the most important question you can ask when urgency arrives is not simply "What should I do?" but rather, "What is this urgency touching inside me? What fear is it activating? What wound is it speaking into? What longing is it exploiting?" Because if you can answer those questions, you stop reacting to the surface situation, and you begin responding to what is actually happening underneath it. And when you respond to what is actually happening underneath, patterns begin to break. Cycles begin to end. You stop making decisions to soothe an inner wound while thinking you are simply handling an external situation. You start bringing the real issue, the fear, the longing, the exhaustion, the grief, the insecurity, directly into the light, where it can be properly addressed, rather than temporarily quieted by a rushed decision that will need to be undone later. This is what growing in wisdom actually looks like in daily life. It is not about having perfect knowledge before you move. It is not about eliminating all uncertainty before you take a step. It is about learning to recognize the difference between what is pushing you and what is genuinely leading you. A push comes with pressure. A leading comes with peace, even when the path is challenging. A push creates urgency. A leading creates steadiness. A push tells you that you will lose something if you do not obey it. A leading invites you to trust that what is truly yours will be there when you are ready to move in alignment with it. So let this be one of the places where your reflexes begin to change. Let this be one of the places where urgency stops getting an automatic vote in your decisions. Not because feelings do not matter, but because feelings are not the same as truth. And the loudest feeling in the room does not automatically deserve to be followed. You are being built into someone who can feel the rush and still choose to pause, who can sense the pressure and still choose to pray, who can hear the whisper that says hurry and still choose to wait until peace shows up. That kind of person is rare. And that kind of person tends to make the kinds of choices that look wise in the long run, even when they look quiet and unimpressive in the moment. You are moving toward that. Every time you choose to pause instead of panic, every time you delay a reaction until you have sat with the truth of it, every time you refuse to be manipulated by false urgency, you are becoming more rooted, more stable, more genuinely powerful in your everyday life. And the more rooted you become, the less power these emotional storms will have over you. Not because storms stop coming, but because your foundation keeps getting deeper. Keep going. You are doing better than you think. And you are far more capable of this kind of wisdom than the pressured, panicked version of yourself has been allowed to believe. The pace of genuine growth is quiet. The fruit of real wisdom is often slow to appear, but it lasts. And what lasts is worth every moment of the patience it took to build it. Now, before we go deeper into the next part of this conversation, pause for just a moment and think about someone in your life who could use these words today. Someone who is standing at a crossroads. Someone who has been overwhelmed by pressure or fear or urgency. Share this message with them. You might not know exactly what they are going through, but something in you already knows they need this. And while you are here, if this channel has been a place of real encouragement and truth for you, Take a moment to subscribe so that these conversations keep finding you. There is more ahead, and you will want to be here for it. Now there is a very specific kind of moment that needs your attention. A moment that many people never fully understand until they have walked through its consequences. It is the moment when your spirit knows something before your mind has found the language for it, before the logic has been assembled, before the evidence is visible, before the explanation is available. Your spirit knows, and the question of whether you will honor that knowing, or whether you will talk yourself out of it in the name of being reasonable or open-minded or fair, may be one of the most important questions you face in this season. You are a thoughtful person. You care about being fair. You do not want to be reactive or judgmental or closed. Those are genuinely good qualities. They speak to the kind of character that has been shaped through real reflection and real growth. But here is the tension that those same qualities can sometimes create. In your effort to be fair, you can become vulnerable to dismissing what your spirit is trying to tell you. In your desire not to seem negative, you can talk yourself out of the exact caution that is there to protect you. In your commitment to staying open, you can begin to treat your own discernment as the problem rather than recognizing it as the answer. And when that happens, when the very qualities that make you thoughtful and caring become the tools through which wisdom gets talked out of the room, you end up in a very painful place. You end up looking back at a situation later and realizing that you knew. You knew before the first warning sign became obvious. You knew before the damage was done. You knew, and you kept finding reasons not to trust what you knew, because trusting it felt like it required more from you than you were ready to give at the time. What would it look like to give yourself permission to honor what you sense before you can fully explain it? What would it mean to say to yourself, I cannot prove this yet, I cannot give you a complete argument for why I feel this way, but something in me is not settled, and I am going to respect that, not recklessly, not as an excuse to avoid everything that feels difficult, but as a genuine act of self-respect and spiritual honesty. To say, my inner witness matters enough to pause for. My discernment deserves a hearing, even when it is not yet fully articulate. My child, if these messages have brought peace to your heart, strengthened your faith, or reminded you of God's love, please consider supporting this ministry through PayPal links below. Together, we can continue sharing hope and God's word with countless souls around the world. You do not need a courtroom case before you are allowed to step back. You do not need incontrovertible evidence before you are permitted to say not yet. If after genuine prayer and genuine rest and the cooling down of your initial emotional reaction, the unease remains, that is significant. That persistent, quiet, consistent disturbance that refuses to leave even after you have tried everything to explain it away is one of the most reliable guides you have. Not because it is always 100% accurate in every detail, but because it is honest. It is not performing. It is not trying to impress anyone. It simply keeps returning to the same place, and that consistency is itself a form of truth. Some of what you are being warned about may not be dramatically bad. It may not be something you could point to and say, this is clearly dangerous. Some of it may simply be misaligned with where you are right now. It may be something that another person, in a different season of their life, could walk through with relative ease. But for you, given the specific tenderness of this chapter, given what is still healing and what is still being built, it would carry a cost that you cannot currently afford. And knowing that matters. Honoring that matters. Even when it is inconvenient. Even when it disappoints someone. Even when it means you have to wait longer for something you genuinely want. You are allowed to protect your season. You are allowed to guard what is being built in you with the same seriousness and care that you would give to protecting anything precious. Because what is being built in you is precious. What is happening in the hidden places of your growth and healing is not small. It is significant. It is shaping something that will matter not just for you, but for everyone whose life you will touch going forward. And that means it deserves to be protected with intention. So change the question you are asking when something troubles your spirit. Instead of asking what is wrong with me, that I cannot just move forward, ask what is being protected in me right now. Instead of asking why am I so sensitive about this, ask what is this sensitivity trying to tell me. Instead of asking how do I get rid of this feeling, ask what does this feeling know that I have not yet been willing to admit. Those questions will take you somewhere real. They will lead you into the kind of honest self-awareness and genuine discernment that makes the difference between a life of repeated patterns and a life of genuine, lasting progress. And as you sit with those questions, as you begin to move through the world with this kind of attentiveness to your own inner life, something beautiful will begin to happen. You will start making choices that feel genuinely aligned, not just emotionally satisfying in the moment, but deeply right in a way that holds up over time. You will start noticing that the peace following a decision that honored your discernment is qualitatively different from the relief that follows a decision made to escape pressure. One leaves you feeling grounded and clear. The other leaves you feeling temporarily quieter, but with a background unease that tends to grow louder as time passes. Learn to tell those apart. Cultivate the ability to distinguish between the peace that comes from alignment and the relief that comes from simply ending the discomfort of waiting. Because relief that comes from ending discomfort is not the same as peace. It wears peace's clothes for a little while, but it does not have peace's staying power. And if you build your decisions around relief rather than peace, you will keep finding yourself in the same place, making the same kinds of choices, hoping that this time the relief will be permanent, wondering why it never quite is. Real peace is quieter than relief. It does not arrive with fireworks. It does not feel like a dramatic release of tension. It tends to show up more gently than that, as a settling, as a softening, as a sense of this is right even when this is hard, as a steadiness that does not require constant reassurance, because it is not built on circumstance. It is built on alignment, on knowing that what you chose was chosen from truth rather than from pressure. That kind of peace is worth waiting for, worth protecting, worth building your decisions around, even when it asks more of you in the short term. My dear child, let us bring this full conversation together, now into the place where it was always heading. You came into these words today with something on your heart, a decision weighing on you, a pressure pushing at you, a fear whispering to you, a warning rising in you that you were not sure whether to trust. And everything spoken here has been in service of this single invitation, to help you come back to yourself, to help you come back to what is true, to help you find the kind of stillness from which genuinely wise and genuinely peaceful choices can be made. You have been reminded today that this pause is not weakness. It is wisdom. That fear's whisper is not truth. It is noise. That urgency is not always holy. It is often manufactured. That your inner warning matters. It deserves to be honored even when it cannot yet be fully explained. That what is genuinely meant for your life will still be waiting after you have taken the time to get quiet and get honest and get aligned. And now there is one final thing to be said, not as a religious obligation, not as a performance of piety, not as a way to earn anything or prove anything, but simply as the truest and most straightforward thing that can be offered to you at the end of all of this. You do not have to carry this alone. Whatever is pressing on you right now, whatever fear has been whispering, whatever decision has been weighing, whatever wound has been aching, whatever cycle you have been trying to break, whatever future you have been hoping for and wondering about, and quietly praying toward, you do not have to hold all of that by yourself. There is a love available to you that is greater than your best planning, more patient than your longest waiting, more creative than your best problem solving, more faithful than your most disciplined effort. A love that has been present in every single one of those hard moments you survived. That was there in the silence when no one else was. That has not given up on your story, even in the chapters that felt like they might be the end. Come to that love with everything you are carrying today. Not the cleaned up version. Not the version you think is acceptable or presentable or worth bringing. All of it. The fear and the hope and the exhaustion and the longing and the confusion and the question of whether any of this is ever going to change. Bring it all. And trust that what receives you is not disappointed by your struggle, is not surprised by your weakness, is not running out of patience with the slowness of your growth, is not keeping a record of every time you move too fast or too slow or missed the mark entirely. What receives you is simply love. Thorough, complete, specific, and unconditional. And in that love, in that place of honest and humble surrender, you will find what no amount of urgency could manufacture and what no amount of fear could ever provide. You will find peace, the real kind. The kind that holds steady when circumstances do not. The kind that does not depend on every outcome going the way you planned. The kind that walks with you through the uncertainty, rather than waiting on the other side of it. That peace is yours. It has always been yours. And it will be there waiting every single time you are brave enough to stop, to breathe, to quiet the noise, and to choose truth over pressure, stillness over panic, wisdom over urgency, and love over fear. That is where your next step begins. Not from panic, not from pressure, not from the loudest voice in the room, but from here, from this quiet, honest, grounded place. Step forward from here, my dear child, and know that you are never, not for a single moment, walking alone.